Let me ask you something. Why does a patient with heart failure develop pedal edema? Why does a patient with liver cirrhosis develop ascites? Why does nephrotic syndrome cause swelling all over the body? Different diseases, different organs, but the same mechanism. The answer lies in something called Starling forces. And if you understand this concept clearly, edema will never confuse you again. Let's build this slowly and logically. Starling forces describe how fluid moves between capillaries and interstitial space. In simple words, why does fluid leave the capillary, and why does it return? Two main types of forces control this: hydrostatic pressure, oncotic pressure. One pushes fluid out, the other pulls fluid in. Everything about edema comes from imbalance between these two. Hydrostatic pressure is simply blood pressure inside the capillary. It pushes fluid outward. Think of it like water pressure in a pipe. At the arterial end of the capillary, pressure is higher, so more fluid is pushed out. At the venous end, pressure is lower, so less fluid is pushed out. This difference along the capillary is very important. Oncotic pressure is created mainly by plasma proteins, especially albumin. Proteins cannot easily cross the capillary wall, so they stay inside blood vessels. And where proteins are, water follows. So oncotic pressure pulls fluid inward. It opposes hydrostatic pressure. Now pause and think. If albumin decreases, what happens to fluid balance? Exactly, less pulling force inward, and that leads to edema. There are also forces in the interstitial space: interstitial hydrostatic pressure, interstitial oncotic pressure. But for undergraduate level, focus mainly on capillary hydrostatic pressure and plasma oncotic pressure. That gives you 90% understanding. Normally, at the arterial end, hydrostatic pressure dominates, so fluid leaves capillary. At the venous end, oncotic pressure dominates, so fluid returns. But not all fluid returns. A small amount remains in interstitial space. That extra fluid is removed by lymphatics. And this is important because if lymphatic drainage fails, edema develops. Edema means excess fluid in interstitial space. It happens when too much fluid leaves capillaries, or too little fluid returns, or lymphatics fail to remove excess fluid. Now let's apply this clinically. This is where students usually get confused. In heart failure, venous pressure increases. This increases capillary hydrostatic pressure. More fluid is pushed out, and reabsorption cannot compensate. Result: peripheral edema. Same in deep vein thrombosis. Blood cannot drain properly. Pressure builds. Fluid leaks out. Simple mechanism. In nephrotic syndrome, albumin is lost in urine. In liver disease, albumin production decreases. In severe malnutrition, protein intake is low. So plasma oncotic pressure falls. Now hydrostatic pressure dominates. Fluid leaves capillaries and does not return. That leads to generalized edema. Notice how the mechanism is different from heart failure, but the final result is the same: excess interstitial fluid. During inflammation or burns, capillary walls become leaky. Proteins escape into interstitial space. Now interstitial oncotic pressure increases. Water follows proteins outward. This causes localized swelling. This is different from heart failure edema. This is inflammatory edema. Even if filtration is normal, if lymphatic drainage is blocked, fluid accumulates. Example: filariasis, cancer compressing lymph nodes, post-mastectomy lymph node removal. This causes lymphedema, usually non-pitting. Another exam point. Let's summarize clearly. Hydrostatic pressure pushes fluid out. Oncotic pressure pulls fluid in. Edema develops when this balance is disturbed, either too much pushing force, too little pulling force, leaky capillaries, or blocked lymphatics. If you understand this balance, you understand edema in almost every disease. And that is powerful physiology. Before you leave, just ask yourself one question. Can you now explain edema confidently to someone else? If the answer is yes, that's real learning. And if this format helps you understand medicine more clearly, consider subscribing and staying connected. We'll continue breaking down complex topics into simple, logical, exam-oriented concepts. Thank you for learning with me. See you in the next class.